What's up, guys? You're watching the Shield Bearer of Faith. Thank you for being here. I'm going to be answering a question or two from one of you guys on YouTube. I do my best to respond to real questions that I receive, whether it's on Patreon or YouTube or Instagram. And this one is specific to you guys on YouTube. So I had the question, what do I put in my trauma response kit, like my emergency kit, and then what will I be planning to put in the kits that I intend to give away when we're in Lebanon next month? So to start with, let's go over my personal one that I carry currently for police work. Now, this could be varied in a lot of different directions, but we're going to go over it pretty quickly, I think. Right off the bat, you're going to notice a big shift in quantities when we go over my kit comparing to the kit over here we'll talk about in a moment. So I have the luxury of having access to a lot of this stuff, and it's my personal kit, so I can throw in it whatever I want. One of the main things you'll notice is lots of gauze. So in a pocket in here, and this bag is made by Sojourn Gear. It's a Minuteman bag. I like it a lot. It's got what is intended to be a water bladder pouch that I have filled with gauze. So I've got 2 gauze here, sterile compressed gauze, some quick clot gauze, more quick clot gauze, more compressed gauze, just gauze for days. That pocket now is pretty much empty. I do have a decompression needle in there as well, but that's one of the big things you'll notice in my preferences for trauma kits is extra gauze. It doesn't really matter to me whether it's focus group, whether it's North American Rescue, whether it's some random off-brand. I just like gauze because it's very disposable, and it's one of the main things you're going to use when you're doing bleeding control. And then tape is good to have for various things. Next up, you'll notice I have a bunch of chest seals and trauma bandages. So trauma bandages could come in a lot of different sizes and types. There's just 2 options there. Sometimes, guys, it's whatever you can find. The focus group ones here, I was given these some time ago. They're pretty good. They're 4 inches in width, which means they're also shorter in length. And then I've got a 6-inch bandage here. It's a flat pack version. It is longer in length. You can do different things with them. See, you've got another 4-inch here. You can probably tell I'm not really specific on brands. I like having things, and if I have certain items already, there's no reason to go buy more. And I have an S mark. This is a like a rubberized wrap you can use as a version of a tourniquet for a child. It's essentially a resistance band that will tell you you can use resistance bands, and those are usually cheaper, but this works really well. From there, space blanket, and now we're getting to chest seals. Got a whole bunch of different variations. Again, it's what I had. Twin pack of hyphen minis. Twin pack of the full-size hyphens. And then 2 twin packs of halo seals. This comes with 1 vented and 1 non-vented in each pack. I have 1 single nasal airway with some lubricant taped on the back because it falls off. And then inside I have 3 cat tourniquets, some shears tucked back in here, and an AR-15 magazine. Now, you could do this any number of ways, okay? That's just my version. Also, you could have more things in here if you were of a different skill set or if your objectives were different. My objectives for this bag is active shooter response. That's it. That's why you'll only see 1 decompression needle, because thankfully, in our world right now, here in the US, explosions are not that common. Needing a decompression needle is not that common for me. And yes, I know that there's other ways that you could need a decomp needle, but that's why I've only got 1 of those. That's why I only have 1 space blanket. My likelihood of wrapping up a casualty to keep them from getting hypothermic is low. I have yet to ever do that. I have dealt with hypothermic casualties, but I've never had to wrap them in a space blanket. Now, these are the items, though, we're going to be giving as individual prepackaged kits in our high-speed Ziploc to responders in Lebanon. Now, there are a couple different variations of students that I'm going to be having. So one variation is what they're trying to create as a response team. And that's not the same as maybe a random student that just wants to come to class while we're over there. So the response team students are going to get more in-depth, thorough training than some other students will get while I'm there. So the response team is the ones that I intend to give these individual kits to. Now, I'm going to kind of break it down as to thought process a little bit. We're going to cover some of the actual items. You'll notice some similarities though. If you see what's currently on my tray here, you'll notice 3 separate packages of gauze. Well, that's kind of consistent with my preference for my own kit that we just went over. I do have one single set of nitrile gloves. I am hoping to receive some donations of nitrile gloves in the next couple days. And my intention is to add a couple more pairs because one pair is just not enough. You can count on gloves tearing. That is something I point out in class when I make them put gloves on. And consistently people are going to have gloves tear. Then you're not preventing exposure anymore. Because of cost factors, I had to change some of my preferences. This is a single twin pack of chest seals, a compact set. The reason in this case for the compact set is they are slightly cheaper than the full-size hyphens that we just covered. So if you get a twin pack of the full-size ones, that is a different price than the compact ones. However, for most of their puncture wound needs, that will work. Next up, you'll see one tourniquet. And don't worry, I'm going to advise them, you don't let it stay in the plastic. This is just for your all's example. The one tourniquet, again, partially because of cost. Of everything sitting on this tray, the tourniquet is the most expensive item. It's also the main item I do not really skimp out on. It's a real cat tourniquet. I've had a couple people ask me recently, well, how do you know the difference? A real cat Gen 7 tourniquet, guys, will say cat on it. If you get a Chinese knockoff, it won't have any branding marks at all. Just food for thought. Next up over here, triangle bandages. These were donated by a local fire and EMS company in my area. I was doing patrol work the other day and it occurred to me, hey, I could probably ask if they have any stuff just sitting around they don't need. They got in touch with several hundred or a couple hundred triangle bandages that I can just give away. So these are useful for a variety of things. That is something I'm going to show them how to do alternative tourniquet methods while we are over there with these. And I'm going to emphasize to them that it's not your go-to option, but it is a option. And again, you can do wound packing with that. You can do a lot of things. Next up, we have a trauma bandage. So I've mentioned these in recent videos. This is a 6-inch wide ACE bandage. It has Velcro closures on each end. So this is like a $2 item. Instead of the $7 item, $8 maybe even as much as $10 that this would be. Now, it's not identical. It's in a much cooler packaging for this. But when I'm trying to give them something usable, that is a better option. Also, these are machine washable. Now, they may not have that as an option there. We're going to find out. These are not machine washable because the gauze pad that is on this item will just shred off. So I actually have become pretty fond of these instead of these. If you have the money, if you already have some of these, cool. These are better, but those work just fine. We currently still have ones that I've been using in training that we have put in the machine, washed and dried in the dryer, and then re-rolled. We've got some that have at least 120 applications of these 6-inch bandages. So that's pretty cool. It's just an ACE bandage. Next up, we have a fairly cheap, but it does work, set of shears. And then this one is kind of an exception. This is a decompression needle. I'm not going to be taking enough of these to equip every response student with. These I intend to give more to a specific nurse that I'm going to be linking up with once I'm there. So most people are not going to be immediately capable of using a decompression needle safely. So I'm going to take some. I wanted to lay it out here so I could reference it, but I do not intend to give one of those to every student. Now here's what I'm going to package it like. So we've got our compressed gauze here. It is denser and does different things, but this is a great gauze option as well, made by Medline. I do order these in bulk. This one is sterile if that matters to you. This one is not. Now I'm going to take our gallon bag here and we're going to package all of this. Now I'm going to just do this on the fly. It may or may not look this way when I actually do it for the students, but this doesn't have to be incredibly sophisticated to be functional. Let's see. I'm sure there will be much better packaging ways that I will discover. With nitrile gloves, I have a way that I like folding these. So you want to get them out of whatever packaging they're in so they'll start to get some space. If you go buy a brand new trauma kit, they'll come in this really pretty, very professional like roll, and it'll usually be banded. Well, the problem with that is the nitrile will stick to itself, and when you need it, you go to unroll it, it's stuck together and you can't get your hand in very easily under stress. So get those things open, let them get some space. And then I like laying them two beside each other, so you have your pair, and then start at the fingers and roll towards the wrist. So that will press the air out as you roll, and it's kind of like rolling a cigar or something like that. Just kind of tuck the fingers in as you go. Bring those thumbs in. You can roll it fairly tight. What you'll end up with is this, folded over again. And now when you throw that into a pocket, you have a pair ready to go. And it's already got more space. I've had wads just like this in my duty pants for at least a week and a half, rolled up and compressed like that. And when I pull them out after I've already spread them out previously and re-rolled like this, they're fine. They are not sticking to themselves like I was mentioning. And I get that in there. And then this bag here, I'm putting in as an extra. So we're going to get all the air out of that bag. You could use this as an additional chest seal. You could take the bag, split it in half, and you have 2 chest seals, maybe even more if you were to cut it. You could also put this over top of burns, or if you had a injury that you were trying to keep from getting even dirtier, you could use it as a waterproof barrier. This is a multi-use item and it's cheap. So I'm going to take that bag, fold it over a couple times, try to get the air out as best I can. Stand by. All right. And now I'm going to stick my folded bag, sorry I had to get all that air out, back in here somewhere. Doesn't really matter where. And then zip it, squeeze as much air out as possible, and reseal. And there is the kit that I intend to give to the response team. This is meant to be very similar to an IFAC. Now, you might have the thought, hey, why aren't you giving them any bags to put them in, like a usable nylon style bag, anything like that? Cost. This is already a fairly expensive item. And guys, they're in a, if you don't know much about Lebanon, I've had to do a bunch of research building up to this trip. They had an economic catastrophe like 8 years ago. So they're not exactly flush with money. That means that anything I bring is probably the only items they're going to have. So that's why I've been really appreciative of all the donations and the involvement that people that watch my channel have been doing. But this is meant to be an IFAC, individual first aid kit. The other supplies, like additional bandages, additional tourniquets, additional gauze, all that stuff, we are taking more, and I intend to leave it there so that they can hopefully have it as like a medical response station, or like a lack of a better word, a field hospital kind of idea, a clinic, whatever you want to word it as. They're not going to be carrying around 300 packages of gauze if they went to respond somewhere. They may choose to build their own backpacks, and I'm going to try to cover some of those concepts with them, but it really is based off of this same deal here. All the same things you would have in your individual first aid kit, for the most part, are what you're going to want in a larger kit like a backpack. You're just going to want more of it, right? So instead of just one bandage, you might have 4, depending on the size of the bag. Instead of one cravat or triangle bandage, you might have 3, or any of those examples. You're going to try to increase quantities. But that's what it's going to look like. I want them to have the ability to give these away to their response team. So we're going to have roughly 20 of these built. Once I get on site there, I'm going to build them for them. I'm sure I'll figure out a better packaging method than that looks better. Might even be able to fold it down so it's a little bit more compact. But I'm sure they will figure out how to carry these items. And I'm going to emphasize to them the idea that, hey, this stuff has to be used wisely. Don't just throw your tourniquet on the first person you find that's bleeding. Give it some thought. Think about what you're doing. Make sure that they can use these items efficiently, since they may not be getting any more. We really are blessed here, in case you don't know, that we don't have to worry about many resources, honestly. Even during COVID, guys, we got off exceptionally easy with some of the lack of items. Comparing to some areas of the world, COVID is not the reason that they can't get trauma supplies. Finances are, or just manufacturing capability, or shipping ability. So let's be grateful for what we have. Thank you guys for all the assistance. If you would like to be involved in what we're doing, if you would like to donate materials, maybe you've got some of these things, or if you'd like to donate any kind of financial effort towards this, go to Saveonemore.life, and you are welcome to email us or hit the donate button there if you're wanting to send any kind of financial effort. Thank you very much for being here. I hope it helps. Please be in prayer for us, and we'll see you later.